Hey, what's up everyone? It's Ventus, and this is another episode of League of Legends Minis. Today I wanted to talk about Crystalline Flask. It's a very strong item that many champions use as a starting item, but it's not very powerful in terms of damage. So first of all, why Flask over Doran's Ring, Blade, Shield, or any other starting item? There are two prerequisites for this. The champion needs to sustain and uses mana. Basically, this means that almost any champion can use Flask, so why don't they? Well, first of all, some champions are able to apply pressure more than others early in lane. They'll be able to utilize those extra stats because of their aggressive nature. Some champions like Annie and Swain can use Flask, especially against some champions that can fight back against them. But Doran's Ring is usually better, because they can overpower their opponents with their reliable damage. So what this means is that Flask users are often passive laners, or in a passive position in the lane. They'll like to sit back and farm and slowly scale. Passive laners often can't or won't apply early pressure and need to chug potions to survive. By starting Flask, which is basically 3 potions, they can also buy 3 or 4 health potions as well. This increases their effective health by up to 960 before their first back, and gaining a minimum of 360 HP each time you back, assuming you use all the charges. Not even counting the mana you get, this item is highly efficient. Think of it as 345 gold for almost a Giant's Belt and a Sapphire Crystal combined. It's 360 HP and 180 mana each time you back. Those stats are very, very close to the items that I mentioned. But of course, you need to realize this is healing over time. The health and mana that you get is over time, not instant. So if you can't actually sustain and survive for that duration, you're basically not making use of the item at all. And it becomes, well, highly inefficient. Flask users need to utilize both portions of the healing extremely well. This means they'll have to take a lot of damage and spend a lot of mana at the same time. In the mid lane, melee champions often get Flask. Champions like Kassadin, Fizz, and Diana. In the top lane, you have champions like Aurelia, Singed, and Jax. These are primary candidates for Flask because they get abused early and often scrap and fight with the enemy laner in small bursts. The Flask allows them to overcome their disadvantages early and scale into their power spikes, most of them being around level 6 to 9, and some of them at the first item. Flask is also an option if you expect to fight and lose health. So basically champions that like to run into each other and smack each other, keep on fighting, throwing out projectiles, both of them hitting at once. These kinds of epic fights, Flask is an option here. Flask users will greatly benefit from small trades, 1 or 2 hits from auto attacks or spells before backing off, and they want to avoid all-in fights. If you go into an all-in fight against someone with a Doran's item, they're going to have extra damage and extra health, so you're probably going to lose that fight. On the other end of things, this means that when you fight against Flask users, you have to abuse them fast or they'll heal up. Because of the complexity of itemization in general, because of the complexity of certain matchups, by no means is this a comprehensive coverage of Flask, but it at least gives you a general idea of how to think when considering the item, and I hope it at least gives you food for thought. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. As always, thanks for watching, and see you next time.